Great note taking.
Okay, today we're going to finish taking some notes, and then we're going to do an activity.
Say what? What kind of activity?
The word active is in that word. I don't like it.
Okay, where we stopped yesterday, we were talking about Henry VIII
And his wives.
and his wives.
Catherine Mary. It's like Catherine Mary,
Three Catherines,
How many altogether?
Liz, and Jane.
I just gave you a piece.
Okay, so Henry VIII was the king during what years?
1547.
47, right?
Yes.
Okay, significant accomplishments that you had written down for yesterday.
Royal Navy.
Created Royal Navy.
1, he created the Royal Navy. 2,
Formed Church of England.
was responsible for the Church of England, even though
England kicked the Pope out.
He was
yes. Okay, so there is a little song, riddle, rhyme probably, I guess, that describes his wives. So he had 6. The rhyme goes: divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived.
What is wrong with this guy?
Is that what happened, Alan?
Why didn't he behead them? Because they didn't have boys.
Yeah, they had girls, wasn't it?
Okay,
Wait a second. You better leave that out there because my computer is out.
So,
Divorced 6 times, he said.
his first wife is Catherine of Aragon.
No, he had 6 wives.
And he is the one who led to the separation of church and state because he wanted to divorce her and the Pope would not.
Oh.
Who was the Pope at this time?
Pope Clement.
See, now you're looking at like Pope Francis and Pope John
You
Bosco.
don't even know.
Pope John the Fourth.
You just made that
Like
up.
Carrie.
Okay, so he divorced her, and then he married Anne Boleyn.
I have some relatives with the last name Boland. Not spelled like that, but.
Okay, she was a little saucy, salty,
How old was this?
I would be the one.
and so he had her killed.
Oh,
There's a movie made not too many years ago about her and her sister, the Boleyn. Is it called the Boleyn sisters?
I
Or
think it's just the Bowens.
they were kind of famous during this time.
Dipsy.
Oh, we don't have time to watch such
Oh.
thing. And then he married Jane Seymour,
Seymour.
who died
That's too bad.
probably during childbirth, if I were to make a guess. Then he married
I'm gonna get it.
another Anne.
Suck. For that.
Then Catherine.
What's that Anna? What?
Clay.
Clays.
Cleves.
De Medici.
Cleves. Cleves.
Clevis.
Cleves.
I don't know.
So,
I like clovers.
I don't know. I put Cleves.
Isn't that like a spice or something?
That looks like a
Cleves?
new from over here.
Oh, it is.
Howard?
Catherine Howard.
I wonder if she was above or below.
You said you were engaged.
Double birdie.
You're so funny, Em.
She's probably on par because she survived.
That's what I thought. Or he just like didn't camp.
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
He's like, oh, you remind me of my first
Not more of them?
Okay,
Right.
so with Catherine of Aragon, he birthed a daughter, Mary. With Anne Boleyn, a daughter, Elizabeth. With Jane Seymour, Edward. Now, he continued to marry because one son really, that's not very good odds. The survival rate for children is not great during the 1500s. So having only one heir is not very
Good.
Not very promising, not a very bright outlook for your future holding down the throne. So he kept Mary, but sadly had no more children.
Why? That's so sad.
Well,
I want to say name him Henry.
Create the...
Yeah, he ruined his family.
He's like,
Maybe he didn't like his own name.
okay, so when Henry VIII dies in 1547, who becomes the next ruler?
Edward's in the
Edward.
Oh, great
So,
Edward the
however you're structuring this, remember, youngest child,
only son.
youngest child, but
Only son. Only
first
Firstborn son.
First heir, yes. Okay, he was actually Edward the Sixth when he became king.
How did you get the 6?
There were some relatives in there somewhere. I don't know. I am trusting that
Is he one of the...
CF Maine has the accurate information here. Okay, Edward ruled only for a few years, 1547 to 1553.
Right, young.
So thing number one about his time as king, he took the throne when he was 9 years old.
Wow.
Wowza.
So in 1947 he was 9, meaning he died. He was
1547, not
only
19.
15, maybe 16, depending on when his birthday fell versus coronation date.
Coronation Day.
Okay, so not only was he only 9 years old, but he was a very sickly child. He rarely left the palace. He never went to a parliament session. So he ruled only in name. His other relatives, uncles, probably not uncles actually, high-ranking members of parliament, other distant relatives, close family, friends, they ruled. Technically you have to have a king, so he was it, but he never really did anything significant. Okay, so when he dies in 1553, who will become? Mary will become
Queen of England.
the queen. Just I think it's Mary first.
Yeah. Is Edward the Sixth one of the monarchs that we know?
No, his name is just Edward VI. So there's Henry VII, Henry VIII. The number 5 Tudor monarch is Edward. So Henry, Edward.
Wait, so he is a monarch.
Yes, but the 7 or the 6 doesn't have anything to do with it. That's just his name.
So they just put number 6 right
So in the succession of English kings, before he became king, there had been 5 other Edwards.
there. Alright.
Not necessarily any relation to him, but there had been.
Poor Elizabeth. She's not very lucky.
She might
She
have
probably like kills Mary.
She's probably
That'd be the one you want to
no
be.
child. I know, I
Right,
was gonna say, you
so.
don't have to do anything.
Kind of there, take a
probably saw this Queen Elizabeth.
They eat all of it.
This one.
No.
She could be Queen Elizabeth.
Could be.
Yeah. She's been through like 14 presidents.
No, there's 2 males on
That's impressive.
That's very.
there. Right.
How old is she?
This is why I couldn't find my notes yesterday because they're in this book.
You
got a text message?
I can't figure out how to run the messaging on this thing, so
What did you get? An iPhone or a Samsung?
Samsung.
Phone?
Maybe you got Yeah, I'm so used to that. I'm so used to
I ain't nothing. I'm in the middle.
That doesn't even.
Wait, you can thumb up like 3 times. What are you doing? It's still true. It's still true. You have it.
Okay.
How's your
Last one, the very last one.
Alright. When Mary became queen, as opposed to her brother, half-brother, who took over when he was only 9, she ruled from 1553 to 1558. But when she took over, she was 37.
Well,
Wow. He's got some age on him. The dad it is, of course.
So she wanted monarchs too.
Yes. She's the
She died in
next
1580.
15.
Wait, so King Henry VIII.
1558.
Minus a quarter of
King
that.
Henry VIII died the year Edward was born? Or, I
No,
Edward
9
started
years
the war,
after.
so, yeah.
well, yeah, because Edward had to take over.
That's the succession.
Edward was born in.
8 years.
This country's
Yes.
just getting used, getting passed around.
42. No, 58.
Basketball.
38.
Yes.
Whatever.
Basketball.
Okay.
Alright,
You said 1947 earlier.
they died again.
Okay, so when Mary took over, so here's what happened to her. After her mother got kicked out of England because she was divorced, she went to Spain, which is where her family was from. And her daughter Mary kind of lived there almost in exile. I mean, it's not like they were kicked out, like they couldn't live in England anymore, but I mean, the first divorce ever in the Catholic Church, basically,
Was yours?
was her. So she felt disgraced, and her daughter held on to that grudge against England for her whole life. Did she ever expect to be Queen of England? Absolutely not. It was a fluke, really, that she became queen. Her and Elizabeth both. The chances that there would never have been another son. Now we know in today's world that the fact that he only had one son
Was his
is
fault.
only his fault. The Baal determines the sex of a baby, not the woman. But in 1500s, people thought it was the other way around, that she was responsible. That's why he got rid of all these other ladies. So,
Yeah. What would happen then? What if you have 2 twin boys?
Whichever one comes out first.
Well, then they have.
What if they come out at the same time?
they
What if they're attached?
her shoulder is still coming out first.
Yeah, that's 2
The
twists.
Siamese twin.
If there's an attached baby in 1500,
They'll probably kill it.
So, yeah. Okay, focus on Mary.
This one's number 1.
Her reign as queen was considered worthless. So her number 1 mission as queen was to reunite the Roman Catholic Church and the crown in England. But because it had been almost 40 years since the two had been separated, she was not able to convince people to buy back into Catholicism enough to reunite the church and the crown. So really nothing significant was accomplished during her time as queen.
That's why she was only there for 5 years. So
She-
Yeah.
She did make a law, which, heresy, isn't that a vocab word?
Yeah.
Yes, I know
Um,
that word.
So I don't know if she invented this word, but she made a law that enforced heresy. So if you spoke out against Catholicism and someone heard you, you were to be executed.
Mary?
So that was part of her efforts to reunite the church and the crown. Because of that, she has a nickname in history as
Bloody
Bloody Mary.
Oh.
She killed
Bloody
over
Mary.
She killed over 300 of her own people because they spoke out against Catholicism. One of the biggest pressures of her queenship was to produce an heir to the throne. Because at this point, who will take over if she has no children?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, but these two aren't too far apart in age. So, she doesn't want, if she rules for 40 years and then Elizabeth takes over, she's going to be also old. So she married a prince from Spain, but the two of them were never able to conceive a child. And the pressure to conceive resulted in her having 2 phantom pregnancies. That's like where the woman swears she's pregnant, but she's not.
She's just gaining weight.
Sometimes there can even be like physical changes in the body, but there's no baby. Twice that happened to her, probably leading to her death in 1558. When she died, Prince Philip ran away. So he should have been the King of England,
It's like,
but he didn't want to be. So he fled back to Spain, leaving a vacancy for Elizabeth.
Now she is still
Maybe she chased him away.
in office.
Maybe he killed her.
when we were doing a whole bunch of family lineage stuff on my grandma's side, we found out that one of my relatives got killed by Bloody Marys.
I'm
Degree. She's one of those people.
related to her. Way up there. I don't know. Just like how she
Well, there are, just because the Tudor family only had a few, like these were the only people in the lineage, doesn't mean there's not other relatives. So, like Henry just didn't have any brothers. That doesn't mean he didn't have any sisters. But in order for his sisters to become queen, he would have had to have no children. And they would have had to have been married to a prince. Okay, so when Mary dies in 1558, her sister, half-sister, Elizabeth, becomes queen. Now, for accomplishments for Elizabeth, she is seen as one of the greatest rulers to ever have the crown. Not only in British history, but in world history. So if you were making a list of the 100 best rulers in the history of the world, she would be on there.
Right next to Nixon.
No, Ronald Reagan.
Okay, when she took over, the country was divided because of the executions that her half-sister had been performing, but she was able to reunite the Church of England. Well, let me rephrase. She restored the Pope to power, but still kept the Protestants from revolting. So the Pope regained some of his power in England,
So she restored the Pope his power and what?
and kept the Protestants happy.
Protestants.
Okay?
Protestants.
The worst thing about her being queen was she never married. And there are a lot of theories about why that was.